What is going down, everybody? Welcome back once again to another brand new Am I Still on the Air? And this time it is the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania spoiler review. That's how we do, ladies and gentlemen. You know, you come here for them spoilers, son, where we could
Spoilers.
sit and we could talk about everything that went down in this movie. Welcome to the show. As always, we are representing Am I on the Air? My name is DONMEGA. And of course, as always, for these Am I Still on the Airs, my co host, I got the Peeps. What up?
What is up? I hate saying what is up to the folks because it's not like they can say anything back. But hey, everybody, what's up? How you doing?
What's up?
All
Hey,
right, all right. It's good to hear.
they
It's
know
good to
what
hear
you got.
you.
Good to hear. Yeah, thank you. Keep it down. Keep it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we got Frigginz. What's up, man?
What's up? I actually like saying what's up because, as a frequent listener of Am I on the Air and the People's Forum, I am always like, what's up, guys? When you guys say that on your show. So, you know
You
what?
let me know all the time of how much you're yelling at me and what you're arguing with
That's
on
right.
the air, peeps. So yeah, I
It gets
appreciate
some interaction going. So, I like to say what's up to y'all. So, what's up, y'all, in video or audio land?
Yes. And hello to Amanda out there already checking us out.
Dang,
Hello,
already in
boys.
the
Good to see
chat.
you. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us and rocking with us here in the chat. As always, we are live on YouTube right now. So if you want to jump in the chat, you are always welcome. For those of you that are listening to this on the audio podcast down the road, this is available on video form as well too. So just to let you know, two versions, video and audio for everybody out there. So again, welcome to the show. We are kicking off phase 5. That is correct. Phase 5, guys. Like, we're getting old, man, because this started back in good old 2008 with a little movie named Iron Man. And we didn't know if this thing would work. And here we are, 31 films later,
it.
with the third Ant-Man movie, man. Who would have thought, right? I didn't even think we'd ever get an Ant-Man movie, period,
Oh,
let
yeah.
alone a trilogy. So shout out to Ant-Man. But yeah, we're really happy to be here. I know we're running a little late. We are about a week behind schedule. So thanks everyone for their patience. I had some work stuff going on. I was actually in Las Vegas over last weekend and then was in Houston, Texas all week for work. So we were just unable to record, a lot of stuff going on just in life in general. So as soon as I got back, we tried to jump at the first opportunity here to get with you guys and break this film down as we always do. It's always a lot of fun. So thanks again for joining us for these spoilers once again as we talk
Spoilers.
about Ant-Man and the Wasp. So like I said, guys, 31 films kicking off phase 5 with an Ant-Man film. Kind of interesting. As we know, kind of looking back through the phases, Ant-Man has always been kind of that palate cleanser, right? You had the first time he popped up, he was the end of a phase. You know, it was after all the hell went down, and then it was like, oh, here's this little movie named Ant-Man, right? And we had this little funny movie. And then we had Ant-Man and the Wasp kind of in between Infinity War and Endgame, right? It kind of landed there in the middle. Another palate cleanser, right? Kind of Ant-Man wasn't involved in Infinity War. We saw then at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp that everybody pretty much got dusted and where Ant-Man was, and that led right into Endgame. And then now he's getting the opportunity to really kick off phase 5 with a bang and really take us into the quantum realm here for a very interesting film, a very divisive film. As I know, I think the thoughts are going to be all over the place when it comes to this one.
Yeah.
Very interesting movie to talk about. I know we haven't discussed it too much, just other than what we've seen kind of here or there of each other kind of talking about it on social media. But yeah, it's been an interesting one to watch because box office wise did really good that opening weekend. Kind of took a fall in the second week money wise. One of the steepest drops for a comic book movie from week 1 to week 2, which is kind of concerning. Some people blaming Cocaine Bear for stealing some of that away because that's kind of the same, kind of group of people that would have went back and watched it again. But then again, of course, the kind of divisiveness of the reviews, right? You look on Rotten Tomatoes, this is a movie that has the lowest critical score next to Eternals at 47%. But then on the audience side, 85%. So this is a very, very wide range there, again, from audience to critic. So We're going to talk about that and kind of see where we maybe fall. But that didn't help things, you know, like a lot of people look at that Rotten Tomatoes score on should I go to the theater? Should I spend my money? Should I go check this out? And when you see something that at one point had started, you know, decently high at like 75% and then was 70 and then it was 65 and it just kind of continued as the reviews were rolling in, dropping. And then it was like, oh man, this is almost the worst reviewed movie of all the MCU films, which is kind of crazy. You know, but then seeing, like I said, the audience reaction, which, you know, like I said, is at 85%. And, you know, for someone like us that we're always on Twitter and we're looking at things, like it's funny when you look at the reviews for this film because it is so like, I love this movie. This movie sucks. I love this movie. This is the worst movie I've ever seen. I don't know what you're all smoking. This is the best film that MCU's ever done. Right? Like it's just so all over the place. And that's always interesting when it comes to these films, how we could be so divided on a comic book film. So as we always do, kind of going into, we always start with overall thoughts, right? Like where we were, we're going into the film opening night, we're checking it out, and where our anticipation was, and you know, where it was going in, sitting down, getting ready to watch this thing, and where it was kind of leaving. Obviously, being a third Ant-Man film, we already had certain expectations, right? Because we've had movies that have kind of set the flow, set the tone. And did it live up to that? Did it not? Did we feel like, all right, cool, that was fun, or did we feel disappointed? Especially with something kicking off a new phase, right? We got a big villain coming up in this thing with Kang. Of course, Kang obviously playing a major role across the MCU as we go forward. I mean, this is all leading to an Avengers movie called the Kang Dynasty. So there's a lot building here. And was this a good jumping off point for that? So let's go into overall thoughts. Peeps, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts, man, going into this thing just overall?
Going into this, I mean, especially for those of you that have been listening to the People's Forum, I mean, I've really been anticipating this movie. I went through and I talked about Ant-Man 1. I did a whole wee view about it. I did a wee view of Ant-Man 2, and I did a whole episode 0 kind of planning and what could we expect from Quantumania. I've loved the character Scott Lang. Paul Rudd is friggin' fantastic. The entire cast of the entire Ant-Man family has been phenomenal since the first movie. So with the same director coming back, with all the same actors coming back, I'm like, how could this not be fantastic? And them adding this sci-fi element of the quantum verse and all that crazy tomfoolery, and the big bad that is as you were saying, we're leading up to the Kang Dynasty. He's a part of this whole story too. Like, does he play a little role in this story, but a bigger role in the overarching, phase 5 or what the next 2 phases that we have? Like, I just had so many questions bubbling inside of my head. So yeah, man, just definitely super, super stoked and super excited going into this movie for sure.
Okay. And
are we talking about me leaving the theater too, or
let's go loosely. Yeah, not details, but let's go leaving. What we walked in optimistic, we walked out.
I just kind of felt like I felt cheated in a way. I felt bad. That's what I'll say. I felt bad. And it was like a loyalty. That's it. I feel like I cheated. It was a loyalty thing. Those of you that have listened to any of our Am I Still on the Airs, it was like 9 times out of 10, Frigginz, myself, and DX are like, 5-star, best movie of all time. So Marvel awesome. Does it again, knocks it out the park. I mean, lately Friggin's been like, these movies, I can't. It's too much. But
she was black and white.
But we generally have had a really good time, I think, with these movies. But Friggin's and I are cracking up through this movie. But as it's going on, like I'm the corner in my periffs, I'm seeing Friggin's just like,
you see the head shake?
I know I'm seeing him because I'm doing this consciously, trying to see his reaction, because I'm emotionally also kind of shaking my head. There's a lot of eye rolly moments, and coming out of it, I was definitely disappointed. But as I said in my, it's not a bad movie. I think just like Eternals, I think Eternals is a good movie. But because we have this cinematic universe and we have these expectations, I have these expectations, and I've seen them create gold in the past. Here's going to be another one that's going to be phenomenal, fantastic. There's going to be nothing wrong with it. Why am I having so many issues with this movie? So, yeah, and my issues are super nitpicky, but we'll get into that, I'm sure.
When are they not? When are they not?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Frigginz, what was your overall thoughts? I think we just got a little spoiler sneak peek of it, but
A little bit. But
going
maybe not.
in, going out, going in,
So-
going out.
I will start with going in, and this all started back in July of 2022 when we were at Comic-Con, and our boy Peeps spent the night in the, I was going to say forest, but it's more of a park, to get into the San Diego Comic-Con Hall H to watch the Ant-Man and all the other Marvel trailers that they produced, and him coming out telling us all about it. The thing was, he was like, "Oh, I saw Bill Murray and I saw all this crazy stuff, and they get sucked into the quantum realm, and I saw MODOK, and it just sounded like a whole lot of fun." Now, I actually did a really good job about avoiding almost every single trailer for this. The only thing of MODOK I actually saw was something that got ruined as I was scanning through online of a figure, a toy, and it was with the mask closed. So that surprise reveal wasn't ruined for me going in, not at least at that point. So I had a lot of excitement. And honestly, like right before we went into the theater, it was like that day earlier, I was looking at my tickets, double checking I had the time right, and all that. And I saw, get out of here with that face piece. And I saw the poster of Quantumania, and I thought to myself, like, man, this should have been higher on my anticipated list. Like, I had that feeling like this might be it. This might bring us back to classic Marvel. And it was, just having that excitement to get blown away again, knowing that we were going to get more on Kang and whatever else was about to happen. So I actually was super, super stoked going into it. I haven't been this excited for some time now, with Phase 4 kind of like was on a dwindling path for me. And so I kind of had that hopes of going back up. But like most others online and a couple here in the chat, we have Amanda here messaging about the same kind of concept of going in excited, coming out less so. I had fun. It was a good time. I enjoyed myself while we watched it. Yes, I had those arms crossed, head nods, like, oh man, why is this happening? Moments. And initially I was just really caught up in the laughter moments that we had, the fun of watching it with the crew. And I kind of like had it. I was on this little high of that excitement for the MCU to get good again. And
he punched my arm. He did.
But the more I thought about it, the more that kind of high like dwindled. And the more I kind of was like, as I think about it a little bit, that was a little bit more meh. So that definitely dropped down to kind of a classic definition of meh, which I'll get into a little bit more on details of why I felt that way. But that was kind of that initial going in, and then the end result as it's kind of seeped in.
Okay. For me, I was very excited. Obviously, when we did our most anticipated list last month, this was my number 3 of the whole year. Number 3, and that's a lot of anticipation, and and that's because I also love both the other 2 Ant-Man movies. So, was very high on this one from the minute that first trailer dropped. Super stoked, right? The things like you said, Frigginz, from what we heard from Peeps at Comic-Con was super promising, right? I love Jonathan Majors. I was stoked on him being Kang. Like, there was just so much going for this movie from that high level that was like, ooh, it was just really built up, right? So went in very, very excited, you know, going into the IMAX, checking that out. And I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a ton of fun. I thought it was a blast. I can understand why some people don't like it. Like, this is definitely not a movie that I walk out of where I'm just like, you know, how can nobody like this movie? You know, like
Right.
kind of thing. Like I kind of get it, like I understand, and it is a different kind of movie, right? It
Yeah.
is very sci-fi, it is very different. And that's not gonna work for everyone, right? Like my wife, for example, is super into the other two Ant-Man movies, but it's mainly for, you know, they're just these laid back kind of action comedies, and that's why she likes it, right? She wants to laugh, she wants to have a good time with these movies, is why she doesn't like DC as much, because she's like, I just want to have a really fun time. And so she was super stoked on a new Ant-Man movie, and then she gets this big kind of weird sci-fi Star Wars, Star Trek kind of movie, and it's like she was like, yeah, I liked it, you know, and it was just kind of like, yeah, you know, it's my least favorite of the bunch, but you know, but it was just, you know, it was all right, you know, and that's where I think if you're not a sci-fi fan, like don't see you really liking this movie. Like, I mean, there's stretches here, right? There's characters here. There's things that happen that if you were just to take this movie on the surface, you'd be like, what the fuck is going on right now? You know? And so it does take a lot of kind of disconnecting from the real world to really like be like, there's this world under this world that's just living in this pocket, you know, and it's very odd, but I really enjoyed it, but I was slightly disappointed in the fact, because when like you said, we this is the 31st movie in the MCU.
Mhm.
So when you come out of an MCU film and it's not like that immediate 5-star feeling in your
It
head.
doesn't hit like your top 10 like
Ye
immediately.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't expect, because there's 31 films, for it to hit my top 10,
Sure,
but I
sure.
want 5 stars. I want 5
Right,
stars every time to come out like, "That was a banger of a movie," right?
right.
And
Yep.
I felt like I was like, that wasn't 5 stars," like, and that bummed me out, right? Because I was just like,
Yes.
it's not my favorite Ant-Man movie, right? It's not 5 stars, like, that's a bummer. That's a bummer. I still loved it. I still had a great time with it. Like my daughter loved it. Like she's already seen it twice. She's seen it more than I have already. And
Yeah.
like so, you know, like so it's a good time. Um but yeah, it's hard to not feel a little slightly disappointed that it wasn't the banger you expected, especially kicking off this big phase that, you know, Kevin Feige has talked about. Like, this is where we lead to the end game here, right? Like, this is where we're heading towards this
Yep.
King Dynasty and Secret Wars. This is the kickoff to that, and it didn't feel. I mean, if pieces of it felt like that, but the overall story, unfortunately, I think this movie just had too much hype, right? Like
Yes.
the director Peyton Reed was like, you know, this is our Avengers movie. This is our big, you
Yeah.
know, like this is our big film, and we're going so hard on this third film, and it's like, so that's where the anticipation gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you see it and you're like, it doesn't really feel quite like an Avengers movie. Like, it's hard because he put that shit in my head, so now I got to
Yeah.
deal with, you know, trying to rationalize
They
that, right?
definitely went big. I'll say that too. Like that's a
Yeah.
big
They
movie, I
did.
think.
It's a very big movie.
I feel like the more they hype it, the more I get worried. Cause like in game, there was no hype. They're like, look at this shit. And that's it. And like, but like, you know, when it comes to this or like Black Adam or these other movies we've talked about, like it seems that the more they try and tell us that it's gonna be amazing and game changing, it seems to
That's
more
why I'm
often
worried
than
about
not.
Flash because they won't
Yeah.
shut up about Flash. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Flash is
I
gonna be
think
awesome.
this
I
is
have no doubt
a
about Flash.
I
It
don't
makes me a
know.
little worried, but I think that
No,
happened here.
Yeah.
no doubt. All right, guys. Well, this is where we get into it. So I'm going to warn you all again. Spoilers. If you haven't seen the film and you're worried about spoilers, pretty much turn back at this point. Bookmark this, come back. Right. But if you've seen the film and you're ready to talk some spoilers, we're going to get into it. So we always get the negative out the way, and that is the what didn't we like. Right. So sometimes, yes, we do get nitpicky. Sometimes we talk about weird shit. But it's just the things that stood out that we were like, man, that just didn't really work for me, and that I wish that maybe they would have done something different with. So curious to hear the thoughts here. So Peeps, circling back to you, what didn't you like?
Can I uh like pitch this to Frigginz? I'm very curious what he is.
Batting it right
you're
back
throwing
in
it back
your
in.
face.
All right. Okay. Things I didn't like. As we stated, this was a big movie. The other Ant-Man's movies are very low scale. You know, they're we got to stop this guy from selling this product to some bad people. Like that was the big thing of the first movie. And then the second movie, it was, we got to get our mom. People are stopping us from getting our mom, but we got to get our mom, you know, or our wife. So like that was the big thing. And this movie, it turns into, we have to save the entire galaxy, which is fine, but it's a little bit of a jump. And I don't really understand what they're saving the galaxy from. I know they're saving it from Kang, but what can Kang do that will destroy the galaxy? A bunch of ants were able to take out Kang in this movie. You're telling me that if he goes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I'm sorry. You're telling me if he goes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe that Captain Marvel won't be able to snap her fingers in front of him, and the force of that will throw his suit off, or Doctor Strange will just zoobs. I don't understand why Kang is such a threat. I would have liked to see that. The freaking ants pissed me off. I don't understand it. I don't get why they're so big. I don't get what their ideas and their plan was. We're just going to wait 1,000 years to see Hank, and then when we see him, we're going to help him fight, and then we're going to see him off. Like, I don't, whatever. MODOK, didn't like him. I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more about it. Did his face. Is everything. Every time we saw his face, like, I don't think Fred and I, God, it looks so bad.
It's like, really
bad. Like, and it just looks so
I feel like
bad.
It was meant to look bad. That was on purpose. I feel like that was on purpose.
And he was so happy.
I think everybody's overthinking about it.
This little MODOK butt, like.
Hey, don't be a dick, peeps. Never too late to stop being a dick. Never too late.
They made him off to be this like brutal killer in the beginning of the movie, right? He just came through and murdering like 1,000 people in like 2 seconds. But he just can't kill our main. He turns into a stormtrooper when it comes to like the main characters.
They all do that. It's so normal.
Yes. I know, but yeah.
Yes.
I think the heist was a waste of time.
Wasted time.
I didn't understand. I didn't understand why they needed Scott to do it. They said that like they needed his PIM particles to do. You got it. He's there. Take it off of him. Take off the suit. We got his PIM particles. Hey, MODOK, I need you to go down there and grab that in whatever that his little ball was.
Look how much more it was than that, because they needed Wasp also. Like they had to blast so many of those fucking things on that thing to get it to go down. I don't think like just giving them PIM particles would have been like, okay, I know how to use this.
But
like, because they had to shoot a little disc at it.
He didn't have any skill involved. There was no reason he had to be the guy. Like, he didn't try and do some cool thief thing. He didn't use some sort of skill that Mission Impossible on a wire, hanging there. Like,
the only reason why they were able to do it is because she could fly. Like, if she wasn't able to fly, they wouldn't have been able to do it. So then she could have, MODOK could have just done it. I don't know.
Right?
He just flew in there and
just flies in.
And I just didn't understand that whole scene. Like it kept splitting, and then when they grew, then they dissolved. I didn't know what was happening there. The whole bit was just blah for me. It was blah. And then he gets the device that he needs to leave the Quantumverse, and then he just stays. Like, why didn't he just leave? He had it. He had it the whole time. And then Scott's, where's Cassie? I don't know. And then just leave. You have the thing. he wants to take his empire, his empire. Okay, fine. Let them fight their little battle. Maybe take one or two with you to clone. I don't know, and then just leave. I don't know. Jeez. I would have liked for this movie just to be about Scott. If it was just Scott and Cassie, that would have been neat. Them going back and forth between the families. It was just we weren't able, I don't think, to really absorb the world all that much. Michelle Pfeiffer is bopping up, and then she meets a bunch of guys, and she does a weird hand signal, and then she fights him, cuts his arm off, and then now they're friends again. And blah, 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 blah. Oh, we're cool. We got a manta ray. What just happened, Mom? I'll explain later. Nobody explains. We don't. Whatever. The plot has to go. Let's go to the city. They go to the city. There's a bunch of broccoli men walking around. What's with this? What's with all these people? Where are we going? I'll explain later. Come on, we gotta go. We gotta go talk to a guy. Okay, let's go talk to the guy. Hey, I'm the guy, but I'm really a bad guy. Cool. Now we're fighting. Now we're flying away. Like, it's just going so fast. I don't have any moment to just like process what's happening. Oh, we're going back to Scott now, and I don't know. I wish they would have, if anything, they could have just been together, had like what is that movie with the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? Like, they're all together. They're all experiencing this adventure together, and meeting these weird giant amoebas, and I don't know. I think it would have been a better way to get our story out there, but Wasp wouldn't have been able to save Scott in the multi people thing. I don't know. Gosh, the worst time to go to the bathroom too. I went for like 42 seconds, didn't even wash my hands. I'm just kidding. And ran back, and I'm like, I don't know what is happening here. Yeah, I don't know, man. I you know how I am. I'm a little bit nitpicky, but okay. I could probably talk about a bunch of other things, but my biggest beef was Kang. They say he's dead at the end. He could come back, sure. I'm you guys know, I'm the dude that always says if you don't see a body, he's probably alive. But I just feel like this version of Kang is gone, and I think I'll call him the banished one. The banished Kang is gone, but I feel like if they would have kept him around, he would have had personal stakes in wanting to get revenge on this universe's Scott and Janet, not Jane, but Janet.
Thank you.
And and he would have had a reason to come back to the 616 MCU. And then the other Kangs that we're going to see in the future will potentially also have it. Oh, the banished one is out. We got to stop him before he stops our plans, kind of thing. Like, let's keep that going. I thought Kang.
I think that is what's going to happen.
I hope so.
I think that's what's going to happen.
I hope so.
Especially if you go to like the mid-credit scene, like it felt very much like those Kangs had banished him. And yes, it looks like he's gone. But then even like the way Scott's talking at the end, right? Like
that was great.
Talking, he's
that was great.
Oh, everything's good, right? Oh shit, what if it's not good? What if he comes back, right? Like, and it's like I think they're setting it up, right? And because you're right, like it'd be dumb to just get rid of this Kang. We're gonna see a lot of Kangs, but this one felt like a primary Kang, right? He had been the one that when Janet, touched the ship, she saw him destroying all the worlds, and he's the one that said like, "Oh, have I killed you before?" Like he's the one that's been through time.
With the hammer.
He's done all this stuff, right? Yeah, and so I think it would be a big missed opportunity. And the same guy that wrote this movie is the one that's writing Kang Dynasty, so I feel like it will all be kind of looped
makes me worried
together. So I know a lot of people are saying that, but I think he will. I think he'll come back. I think that he won't be the only Kang, obviously, that we're going to see a lot there, but I think he will find his way back.
I've been looking into an old animated series called Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and they have an altercation with Kang, and it's such a cool scene because they're all going after him, and he is just literally like taking them all out like one by one. It's very similar to Thanos in the Infinity War, when he's taken out all the Avengers with the Infinity Gauntlet. And I just want that level of Kang. And maybe I would have loved for the end credits, maybe he's crawling back out of the whatever thing he got sucked into, and he's like, I can't believe like I got beat by the Ant-Man, of this universe. Like, I need to step it up a little bit to be able to conquer. Yeah, don't. That's something. And
I have a feeling they'll do something that like the quantum realm like decreased his strength and his power, or something
Sure.
will come back around that that he was still pretty damn powerful, but it was altered or
It was
diminished
shrunk
because
down.
of the quantum realm. Yeah, that he only had 5% of what he's capable of doing or something.
I'm
And
good
then
with
you
that.
kind of set that back up, right? Like that's why Ant-Man was able to take him out, right? Because he was working with less, and then plus, of course, his
Yeah.
suit got beat up at the end, which is the only time Scott actually got anything over on him, was
Yeah.
once the suit kind of wasn't powering him anymore.
I hope
Which
that they do that like one thing where like when he kills another king, he gains their power. Or maybe we
dude,
could get that way. That's how he gets more
Like a
power.
Highlander shit.
Yeah,
There could be
exactly.
only one.
Yep.
wow, yeah, that would be really cool. And we'll get into that. But yeah, that's my main beefs with it. The villain, and I thought he was great, like especially when he blew it up, when he went Smurf mode. Like, oh my gosh, it was so cool, just floating on that disc, and the way he's like picking things up, and he picks up Cassie, and she's torturing Cassie in front of Scott, and Scott's like, no, that was great. Like, this guy is terrifying. He's abusing MODOK, and MODOK is this big scary guy, and like Jonathan Majors, I think was fantastic as Kang, as this role. I love these scars, almost as if they're like tears, that he's like sad that he's has to do what he's doing, but it's like a necessary thing. But it's really just kind of goes with his comic book adaptation. It just looks like it, and yeah, I really like it. I just wanted so much more, and I expected so much more from this movie. So yeah, that'll do, Pig.
I'm sure you'll chime in here.
I will
with a few others. As I'm gonna.
All right, Frigginz, take it away.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start with like a little itty bitty irritation that got worse and worse as it continued. Was the mask thing? Gosh, I thought we were over that. Where it's
a lot of people that bothers a lot of people. It's funny. It's
and like especially with Cassie, because she has this like ponytail, like just kind of poofing out, and it's like ponytail's gone. There's the ponytail. Like this.
And you know what's funny about that is I constantly, because I have a daughter, like I constantly think about her hair getting caught in the helmet, right? Like, and then pulling her hair. And she's like, ah! And they're like, what's wrong, Cassie? And she's like, my ponytail.
Yes.
You're not using nanomachines, DX. You gotta switch your tech.
Oh, man. So that was like a little irritation. A major irritation was MODOK. Period. I don't give a shit if it's good CGI, bad CGI. I don't care if it's Darren Cole or whatever the original MODOK guys.
Cross.
Thank you. I hate MODOK. Period. Like, I have never been a MODOK fan. That character has driven me nuts since I could remember ever seeing him. I disagree. To this point. To the movie.
So you didn't watch the Hulu show last year?
Heck no. I can't stand
Patton Oswalt was a great MODOK.
I'm sure he was wonderful, but he's like the worst character to me, and I'm glad
when they said that Jim Carrey was going to be MODOK, that excited the shite out of me. I would have loved that.
Exciting, actually. But he was one of those characters where I am glad that they used him in the MCU, because it gets this weird rando character that a lot of people would probably never ever even knew existed out into the world. But at the same time, I'm also glad that it's over with, so we never have to deal with the MODOK again.
I want MODOK.
I'm so glad.
MODOK. More MODOK.
I have to say, I think my biggest beef with the film as a whole was a lot of the storytelling aspects of a lot of the plot aspects.
Mm-hmm.
You touched on it a little bit, Peeps, about with Michelle Pfeiffer going in there as Janet and just being like, this whole time I've never told you this thing. Like that was super irritating. And then we get into the quantum realm, and it was just that I'll tell you later, I'll tell you later, I'll tell you later. It reminded me of like a D&D session where you don't want to reveal the thing for your players until you get to the final bosses along the way. But it made me realize how much I don't like that. And honestly, like, you know, you threw out, Peeps, your suggestion of how you could make this better. And honestly, for me, the best way to make this film better is you take Janet and Hank and you pretty much, oh, and I would throw Hope in there, and you pretty much remove them from the movie. Like, if those three characters remained back and you would just have Cassie and Scott go, you could literally follow just their story. And then you can leave the other three back to maybe give a little 5-minute monologue of like, well, let me tell you what I experienced.
Or maybe even they're just talking to them like on like a microphone.
Exactly.
Just same way they were doing with at the end of Ant-Man 2.
Yep. That man in the chair kind of like helping them out from afar.
Is it red, Scott? Is it run away? The blue ones are good. The red ones suck.
Exactly. Because if you think about it, like when she comes in and talks to that dude that you said, where he chops off the arm, and then they're buddies, and then they get the manta rays, and then they go into the city and they run to Bill Murray, and then none of that matters. Like nothing they did accomplished anything. And
even the little creature, I thought the little creature was going to come from the end.
Right. So they have a ship to get to Scott and Cassie so that Wasp can help Scott. But if you take those three out, and maybe you just allow Cassie's character to have wings, I don't know, and she could accomplish all the things that Wasp did, and then it would leave like a really cool reveal for Hope to come through somehow at the end to save Scott at the end or whatever. So that plot element really, really bothered me. And then another aspect was the end, where you don't have, there were no stakes because Scott, is like, I don't have to win. I just need to make sure you lose, which was like an amazing moment. And I thought that is how that should have ended, with him actually
sacrificing himself.
Exactly. Let's have that sacrifice. And even if you want Hope to come in to like finish off, so we see that Scott doesn't die, cool. But let them both be stuck there together. And it's not the same as what we saw in Ant-Man, or in Ant-Man and the Wasp after credit scene, because a lot of people said you can't do that because you already did that before Endgame, right? But he was just lost in this weird part of the quantum realm. He wasn't lost in this community. This is a different thing where he can go on and like have these experiences. And then maybe you even give like an after credit scene where they do find a way back, and they're like, hey, we ran into these ants and the ants helped us to get back, right? So I don't know.
Or maybe he even says like, I'm going to stay. Like he could go back, or he's just going to stay so that he can help out the community, the people of this city kind of rebuild. And that would literally go back to helping out the little guy, which is like full circle, which would be great.
So I think that this struggles with the ending of them wanting too much to do that positive, happy-go-lucky ending instead of just doing like a really good, story, something different, right? Exactly. So
what I heard is that in the original cut of the film, he is trapped and left there in the quantum realm. Yep. But after test screenings, it said most audiences didn't like that. So they went and they did reshoots, and they added that end scene where they got out, and then it had the happy ending with the birthday cake and all that stuff at the end. Like they just shot that scene like 2 months ago. So like that was just added in at the very end. So yeah, they said the original version of the film did have him getting stuck in the quantum realm. The portal closed and he's left behind, which I thought was going to be the ending of the movie. And I thought that would have been a great setup for like Kang Dynasty, right? To be like, where's Scott at, right? Like the other Avengers are like, dude, we got this guy, like, where's Scott at, right? And they're like, we can't get to him, he's been trapped, right? Like all this time, and they can't figure out how to get back down to the quantum realm. And then that becomes part of the storyline of going to rescue him and bringing him back to the fight, right?
Yeah,
I think it'd be funny, like Anthony Mackie in the new movie is like, I know a guy, and then he knocks on the door like, where's Scott? Like, he's not here.
He's not here. Well, it just goes to show that like it is very difficult to make any Marvel related film now because of the argument of, well, where's Thor at? Where's Hulk at? Where's Captain Marvel at?
It's
Right.
been a
And
great way to
so
do that.
you
Yeah.
do that by making them go
Hard,
to the
man.
quantum realm where
31
nobody
films.
else is there, right? Like 31 flavors Baskin Robbins. I like that connection.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it does make it a little difficult to deal with that. So I see why they wanted to make this story off on its own that apart from Kang doesn't really necessarily impact the rest of the universe. But I think they just made a few poor choices with the storytelling aspects, and I think that a stronger ending could have been a lot better, and removing a lot of those middle B lines, taking those out so we have more development between Scott and Cassie. That would have been a lot better.
I mean, ant
Seeing,
lines.
nice, and getting that development of her character and her getting better at using stuff was a nice little thing that they did where he's like teaching her how to do the punches more properly. I would have liked to see more of like that kind of connection because for an Ant-Man movie, I felt like I didn't get as much Paul Rudd as I should have got. So anyway, I could go on, but that was my biggest beefs. So I really wanted to emphasize those points, and I'll let Don go next.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And I'm gonna pretty much just spend a couple minutes to just echo a lot of what you guys said, right? Like, I think where this movie goes off is, again, my biggest pet peeve with this one is exactly what both of you said with the Michelle Pfeiffer character of like, we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. I don't want to talk about it, right? Like, okay, so this movie is, I'm guessing, several years in the timeline after Endgame, and things have pretty much chilled out for Paul Rudd, right? Like he was able to write a book. He hasn't really. It doesn't seem like he's been doing a lot of superhero stuff lately, right?
You saved the world. You should write a
You're
book about it.
yeah. You're telling me that they're never sat down and had this conversation with her to be like, what happened in all these years that you were down there? How did you survive? Who did you encounter? Like, that she wouldn't be like, we had this whole other race down there and there's this whole other civilization, and I met this fucking crazy ass guy, man, that was gonna take over the world, and I left him down there. Like, I just find it very hard to believe that she never, even if she didn't tell Scott and Cassie and all them, but she would have told Hank. I mean,
I
come
was
on,
thinking
like,
she did something horrible, like she
yes,
murdered a space
yes,
baby or something like that. I was thinking there's a reason why she's keeping
yes.
this a secret.
And I thought that it was going to be that she like helped Kang, right? Like she helped them, like helped him take over, and that's why when they were with that other group of people and they said the name Janet, and they were like, you know Janet, and they got mad. It was like, oh, because she helped
she's the
Kang,
right
right? Like
hand.
she was. Yeah. I thought like she was gonna be like, I made some bad moves and I was, with this guy helping, and I didn't know at the time we were taking over. Like, but it had nothing to do with that. Like, I don't know why anybody truly hated her. I mean, I guess in a roundabout way, because he got powerful and did eventually take over, and they're thinking that she helped him get to that point. But I just hate when characters do the whole like, I don't have time to talk about it. Like, we'll do it later. Like, no, talk about it. You can't tell me there wasn't a time that you all sat down and talked about it.
Especially with their walking. Like, they've been walking for hours, but you can't just have a conversation. The camera's on you. I have no time now, but we've been walking.
How long
for
were
3
they
hours.
flying on that manta ray, right? Like, I mean, you couldn't have just explained why you were flying around, especially since there's like this whole other land of the quantum realm that we haven't even seen in any of these other movies, right? Like, I mean, like, we've been led to believe that it's just this void, and like now there's like all these other things and cultures and
they called it
civilizations
something like the some kind of haze has been lifted, some void has been lifted, and you could see beyond the void or something. I was hoping they would show how she connected with Scott when he was in the quantum realm in the first movie. Like, when she looked up at that moment in the beginning, I was like, oh, she's going to see Scott like floating around, and she's going to put a message in his brain or something. I don't know. They never explained any of that.
I did like that they started kind of with her, and then showing, you know, the beaten up Kang kind of being like, help me, you know, like then that was kind of the beginning of the movie to set up that relationship, right, and show
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I wish, I don't know, I wish some of it, a bigger portion of the movie took place outside the quantum realm. Like I
Yes.
thought having only like the first 5 minutes of the movie, like, you know, like in the real world, and then the whole rest of the film in the quantum realm was a little much for me. I would have liked if the battle, like once the portal opened, that he would have jumped through it and, like, you know, and had a moment to fight with them, like on Earth, you know, and then maybe
That'd
he
be
got
cool.
sucked back out or something at the end, and he's, I'll be back, you know, like kind of thing, and
Okay.
and you know, got pulled out the portal, you know. But I would have liked to have seen something more. I don't know, like I think that would have helped from like the overabundance of the sci-fi-ness if
Yeah.
it would have been a little bit more balanced out. Um, you know, and again, I think that the ending was botched, because I do think that they should have had it where him and Hope got stuck. I think the two of them should have got stuck and basically helped, you know, rebuild this, you know, civilization, and kind of help lead them until they got rescued in another movie, right? Like that
Yeah.
Cassie was gonna make sure to, you know, find a way to get back to her dad, right? Like, and kind of leave it off on that note of like, how do we get there? You know, how do we figure it out? And, you know, her along with, you know, Janet and Hank have to figure it out. I think that would have been
And I
cooler
think that
than
would
just, you know.
even been a really good goodbye. Like Dad, I can't lose you again. It's like, no, Cassie, you're good. You got this. You know, you
Yeah.
can
You're
remember
already better than me.
quick taps or something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're yeah, exactly. I think that would, and I love your idea, Don, of you know, Janet and Hank being there, because like you said, like even though we go back and forth, we're not going back and forth in two different parts of the quantum realm. Like we're going
Right.
to the real world or to the present day, and
Yeah.
maybe we can bring Luis in somehow. You know, something
Yeah.
like, hey, I need somebody that knows how to blah. Like, oh, I know a guy, and Hank's like, no, please don't say. And then I don't know.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That would have been
My
nice.
idea for the missing Luis would have been the post-credit scene
Oh, that too.
of Scott saying like he had just got done telling him what happened in the movie, right? Like all the craziness in the quantum realm.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, okay, let me get this straight. And he just starts recapping the story. Like, so
Yeah.
let me tell you, there's a guy in a big face and a MODOK, like, you know, like, and he's just telling the thing, and it's flashing like all the other characters doing the mouth thing again.
That would have
Like,
been
but
good.
recapping Quantumania
That
in
would have been
Luis's
good.
style would have been the
Yeah.
most amazing post-credit scene to get him back
That
in
would have
there.
been so good.
Speaking of post-credit scenes, I mean, am I the only one that is hating the post-credit scenes anymore? Like these two post-credit
Man,
scenes
we'll
were
get
the.
there.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. Sorry, I jumped the
I,
gun.
I
We
also
got
had to
there. It's
bite my
got its own
tongue.
category.
Frigginz, I
Oh,
feel
my
you.
bad. My bad. I forgot.
Yeah, I
Spoilers.
just I think that, you know, they could have moved along. I like Peep said, like they kind of went on this weird pace that it was just go 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 go, and there was nothing to really flesh out, right? Like they made this big
Right.
deal about, oh, Bill Murray's in the movie and he's in it for 2 minutes, you know, like, and it's like, okay, like he had this relationship with Jane, and then it changes, Janet, and you
Thank
did
you.
it to me.
Thank you.
It's,
How
it's
weak was
ages.
Bill Murray though? Like they had the perfect setup, that sweet revenge of the monster eating him, but then it just throws him
Yeah,
off at the end. I'm like, come
yeah,
on, like let him get eaten. God.
yeah. That was cool. That was cool.
Ah.
Um, yeah, we want to learn more about that, you know, and I would have liked to have just seen things fleshed out a little bit more, you know, like about like the war.
I think what he's saying is about the war that was going on that nobody knew about.
Yep.
You know, I mean, that sounds about right. But, you know, while we're waiting for him to come back, I just really wanted to emphasize there's another thing that I could not stand that I forgot to mention. And that was, he's back, is when your
Hey.
internet lags. That's the other thing that I absolutely hate, too.
Something was happening
I
with
thought
the
we were getting
war.
booted, man.
That was just you.
We saved it. Don't worry. We said all the good things.
See, on
while
my
you were
screen,
gone.
it was just me and y'all disappeared. So I didn't know what was going on.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, oh
That's
no,
fun.
where did everybody
That's
go?
right. You were talking about war.
You want more of the war.
Was it more
I don't know
war?
about necessarily the war, but I was talking about the warrior chick
Warrior.
like
Oh,
the
okay.
with the staff. I thought that was super cool when she was like slicing those little guys. That every time she like hit the staff, they would kind of
That
like
was the coolest
crystallize and
thing
then blow
ever.
up. It was such
Yes.
a cool effect. It happened so quick, but every time she did it, I was like, yeah.
That
I like really
Jintora
enjoyed it.
character was the only character of all the new people that I'm like, I want her in the MCU. Like, she was great.
No, you like the laser eye guy too.
Oh, I did like the laser eye guy. Yeah.
Laser
Yeah.
eye guy was
Because he
cool.
was like, he destroyed that giant amoeba and then never used the laser after that.
Yeah.
It was all like,
All right, so I guess we're gonna shift then over to what we love, since we're starting to talk about things we like now. And yes, so a lot of the new characters were cool. We just wish we got more of it, man. Because yeah, the laser eye guy, I would have liked to have seen more of him. He was pretty damn cool. I've seen some people speculate that part of King's power, and we've kind of speculated this in the past, that there's a connection here to the 10 rings, right? That
Right.
there's something here. And then somebody had put up I think it was on TikTok, I saw it, that like this scene of the laser eye guy shooting his beam at Kang and Kang kind of grabbing it and throwing it back at him. And so his beam comes out yellow, and when Kang throws it back, it turns blue, right? So then it's kind of like the whole like how the rings were like blue on the Mandarin, but then it was yellow, like, you know, when Shang-Chi used it. Like, so there's like that, like, oh, is that what was happening? Because there was also the symbols, then some of the technology that was down the quantum realm that looked like it matched. You know, I keep going back to that post-credit scene in the post-credit scene in Shang-Chi, where they're like, oh, it's sending off a beacon, and there's a thing there. Was it Kang? Was it Kang being like, get me the fuck out of here? Was he sending the beacon? I wanted more of a connection. It was driving me crazy because I really thought we get it in this movie.
I think even the little sphere, like the rotating things inside of it, look like rings.
Yeah.
I thought that they were like, oh, that's the 3 rings. Wait till he gets the 10 rings.
Even when it like showed it, Peeps in the theater was like, there's the rings.
Yes. Yes. And it wasn't.
And it wasn't. Yeah.
But who we starting with?
He's going. He was going already.
Hey man, okay, I'll continue on. Like, for me, MODOK, man, I love MODOK, dude. I thought it was hilarious. I didn't know how I'd feel because MODOK is such an odd ass character, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, this was the perfect movie to do it in, because
agree.
where else are you gonna slide fucking MODOK into, right? This is a character that a lot of people have been asking for, and honestly, I can't think of any other project where it would make sense for this fucking giant head to be rolling around doing shit. But throw it in the quantum realm, right? Tie it into the fact that, hey, that's what happened to Darren Cross in the first movie. He got shrunk down, went into the void, and he got found by Kang, right? And he turned him into this killing machine. And I like that he got a little bit of an arc, man. Like, it was supposed to be silly. You know, I know a lot of people think he's kind of like the little standout character in this thing, right? That it was just the guy that went evil. He lost his life. He went into this void. He got new purpose. And that's all he knows how to do now, is just to be this killing machine, until Cassie's like, you know, don't be a dick, dude. You know, it's never too late. And then I love that he took that and was like, you know what, you're right. Like, it's never too late to be a dick. And he like helps them out. Like, it's so awesome. Like,
if he would have lived,
cool.
I think, and then just like hung out with them, high fives around, I think I would have liked it. But they killed him off, and it was the grossest.
Of all the characters that needed to die, he was the one.
Yeah, I think he needed to die too. I think it's a character that needed to just kind of be a one and done thing. And it was like, you know, hey, here's an opportunity to use this character in this setting. It'll make sense in this movie, nothing else. Let's just throw it out there, give the people what they want, and then we'll take it away. So I really like that. I wanted to ask you guys what you thought of Catherine Newton coming in and being the new Cassie. This was obviously a recasting here, because it's hard with Cassie, right? Because we had Cassie as a little girl. Obviously, we jumped because of the blip, and then they had another actress in Endgame who hadn't really acted in anything, and I think they thought like, hey, if we're going to use her as a main character in this movie, we want like a name. And Catherine Newton is a name that has been going around in a lot of the YA movies over the last several years. She did Freaky a couple years ago. That was really good. She's done a handful of things, and I think they felt kind of more like we need to put somebody in the role that we think can carry it, especially if we're going to turn her into a hero and do our own thing with her. So I was curious on just overall thoughts of like, what'd you think of her in this film, kind of stepping into that role?
I loved her. I thought she was absolutely fantastic. She's definitely somebody that I want to see continue in a storyline. I thought she handled the part well, and especially for coming to something so big in the MCU and taking kind of a very, center role in this character that presumably is, we've seen a pattern of them tying in a lot of younger Avengers, right? So I think that's where we're headed, to a young Avengers type team. So I think she'll fit in with like everybody else that's been listed there. So yeah, absolutely think this is a perfect fit.
Yeah, no, I also thought she did pretty good, or great actually. I didn't understand why she waited so long to put on the suit, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about her portraying the character, and I thought she was great. I feel bad for not only the little girl that has been Cassie, that is like, because of all the pandemic and the pushbacks, is like kind of like that teenager age right now. But
she's still too young.
Yeah. But like the actual the original one, I heard that she found out via tweet.
Yeah,
she
wasn't.
She found out on social media.
That does suck.
Yeah. So but no, I mean, unfortunately, but yeah, this new she was great. The moment where they're both giant and they're kind of like hugging each other, was weird, because it just seemed like two normal people hugging, kind of, because it's with the scale, they're already super small, but I don't know, whatever. But anyways, I thought she was good, and I would love to see her as a young Avenger.
I know, and one of the producers was just saying like,
it's not
we're not really looking at doing a Young Avengers movie anytime soon, or a show. And I'm like, there's no fucking way they have set up this many Young Avengers with no plan in sight. Obviously, Kevin Feige's planning 10 years in advance. There's no way. They've set up way too many of them to be like,
way too many.
No thoughts, like, at all. For those of you watching the video, Frigginz will be right back. He's got to step away for a quick sec. But yeah, so yeah, no, I thought Catherine Newton was a great addition. I was actually excited when they announced her, because I have liked her in like things like Freaky, and I think she was in Blockers with John Cena. She was pretty funny in there too. And I she's definitely an up and comer, so it was a nice little addition there. And I thought she did a great job. I thought she had pretty good chemistry with Scott Lang and Paul Rudd. And I'll be looking forward to further adventures for sure, because it really is about that relationship with her and Scott, right? Like, I mean, that's always been about the two of them and their relationship. I totally agree with you. They waited too long to get the goddamn suit on. So that was one thing that bugged me too. It was like, she's running around getting blasted, everything, and then it wasn't until the last second she's like, bloop, and I'm like, bloop? You got a suit? Yeah, I got a suit. And I'm like, dude, you waited 45 minutes to put that shit on? Like, this whole time you could have been doing it?
Another stupid little pet peeve is after she drank the guy and her mouth is covered with whatever, she just stood there forever with this slop on her face. I'm like, wipe your mouth. This is the dad in me that is like, wipe your mouth. What are you doing? It wasn't until like moments like later when Scott drank it and she saw his face and then she wiped his. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
That's so funny. I wanted to mention on the suit, like, if I'm falling into randomly and unexpectedly falling into a quantum realm, I'm putting that suit on. Like,
I don't know if I'm going to be able to breathe. Like,
ready? Got to put the helmet on.
That's right. Yeah. Zoom. Ow, my hair.
I'm a ponytail.
It's got my lip.
You got my beard.
I know. I love that everybody has like the nanotech now, right? Ever since Iron Man, that it's like nobody needs to, like take off the helmet and put it on. Like, it's always just it's on, it's off, right? Real quick. Nobody has a real helmet anymore these days. Gone too far.
I mean, it started with Star-Lord, right? Like, he kind of like
Star-Lord's, or maybe Iron Man.
But with Star-Lord, it made more sense because it was like a space helmet. And it was like, kind of just, it was for him to breathe like outside in space more than anything, whereas like the rest of these guys in the earlier movies all had something they took off. And then as the movies went on, it just became fizzle on, fizzle off. Like, very.
But it was just cool, like when Captain America fought Batroc and he took off the helmet, he took off the shield, and then he's like, let's go. That's so cool. Or now he's just going
Cap never did though. He stood the test of time. Maybe Anthony Mackie will have it. He'll be doing it.
Yeah.
Man, I hope they stop.
he'll be doing it. Let's see here. Yeah, the whole goo scene I thought was pretty fucking funny. My daughter cracked up on that one, like just the whole like
him wanting to have holes or the
yeah,
beginning.
he's like 7 holes. That's not true. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I was sitting there too, like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
They're right. There's 7 holes. Yeah, no, that
I was
was
kind of
funny.
hoping
I
William
like
Jackson Harper would have a little bit more of a role, but he
Yes,
just
me
disappeared
too.
until the
I
end.
love that dude, and yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like he could tell the truth or
Yeah,
whatever.
he's
Um,
he's telepath. Yeah.
like an empath, yeah.
Mhm.
So, that was cool, but yeah, I wanted more from him too. Remember, like when all the rumors were like, "Oh, he's gonna be Reed Richards," like all this stuff, like when he got casted, and
Right.
then yeah, sure enough, it was not. Um, but yeah, and then you had the one dude who was David Dasmachian, who was part of the
Yeah.
crew in the first 2
Kurt.
movies,
It
was
was Kurt.
Veb. He was the little gooey guy. So like it was funny to see him in a kind of a different role there. I got
He's so many
holes.
characters. He's like so many characters in both Marvel and DC. It's crazy.
He does,
Good for
man.
him,
Yeah, he's
man.
a
Good
great
for
voice
him.
actor. Yeah. Yeah, he's the only one that made it back. Yeah, I love the line with the, are you the one with the hammer? And he's like, no, but we have similar body types. I could know why you got confused, right?
That's great.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, great line, great line. So it definitely had I was glad that the humor was still there, even though we were in kind of a different setting. We were in such a sci-fi kind of world, a lot of stuff going on, but we still carried on that humor, the things that we do love about those movies, right? Thank you, Spider-Man. So
Right.
yeah, so I mean just that, the action was really good. I liked the fighting. I loved like the big end kind of sequence, of him kind of getting big and kind of stomping through, like, like I'm not taking no shit, give my daughter,
Yeah.
and
Huge.
let's get it on, right?
Yeah.
Or
So
when
the
he
whole
grabbed
end
that
battle with everything going on was really
when he
cool.
grabbed the roof off and used it like a cap shield. Like
Yes, used it like a
I,
shield. Yeah.
I love that reference of Captain America. That's like a common theme with Ant-Man, right? Like he's the one that's
Yeah.
been the Captain America fanboy all the time, and Captain America's ass, and shaking Captain America's hand in Civil War, and like now he's got the shield and he was using it. Like that was really cool.
Even the last movie, he says
Really good
Cap.
moment.
That's what we call him. Cap.
Yeah, that's what we call him.
Cap. Yeah, she's all Cap. Yeah, well, that's what we call him. Yeah. Captain America. Yeah, so no, just really fun stuff there. Obviously, the visuals, the sequences, the action, that was all super top notch, man. That really worked. For me overall. I love, once again, Jonathan Majors as Kang, super standout for me. Loved him in this role. Knew he'd be awesome in this role. I've liked him in everything I've ever seen him in, and just knew like getting even just that little moment from Loki season 1 of being like getting to see him in a different version, like being like the more badass. And I love just how cool, calm, and collected his character was, right? Like it wasn't, he didn't get flustered very often. It was just like, yeah, it was. So what's it gonna be? Ant-Man. Just very, very chill. That, and those are the most scariest motherfuckers out there, right? Like you just don't
Got
know,
it
man.
together.
Like
Yep.
when they're quiet like that, yeah, they're just plotting in their heads. I thought he was awesome. I thought Michelle Pfeiffer was really good in this movie, having that expanded role. You wouldn't think that they'd really give her so much to do. And I like that she
A lot.
basically led this movie to really take us down this journey. I thought Michael Douglas was really great in this one as well too. He had some really strong moments, and I was like, man, so it was cool to see the family kind of, the gooey, like stick your hands in it. But just that's what was really cool in this movie, and the standout for me was that core group of them together going on this kind of journey together, right? Like being pulled down into this world and having to figure it out and kind of get to each other and win the day. So I really, really like that, obviously the family aspect of it all. So those are the highlights for me there. Peeps, I'm gonna throw it over to you. What were the things that stood out that you loved?
Family, guys.
Family.
No, yeah, I loved the beginning of this movie was fantastic. I think like him kind of recapping everything that has not only already happened, but recapping everything that is happening and literally touching on most of the questions that I've had. Like, Pimtech was a big company that Hank Pym was in charge of, and then all the stuff happened. I'm like, well, whatever happened? Is the company gone? Are they just never going to do anything like that again? They're just going to retire? But they talk about they reestablish a new business, and they are actually using their technology to try to, better the planet and deforestation and
that
stuff
Hope
like
is
that.
running it.
Yeah,
That was really
exactly.
cool.
She's
Yeah.
doing things, and everything that Scott's doing was great. And then kind of showing Cassie kind of getting in trouble, not really following her father's footsteps, but kind of like she's like a bit of an activist. And that was what got him in trouble in the first movie. He was trying to, all those people were getting ripped off by this company. So he, tried to give the money back to the people. So, I love the beginning of this movie, and even them, hey, you want me to show you what I'm working on? I'm like, damn, we getting into this already. Let's go, and their interaction at the dinner table. As I was saying before, oh, you really? You should write a book about that, Scott. And yeah,
By the way, I've pre-ordered that book. I suggest you all do the
Nice.
same.
I'm definitely getting it. I'm
very
pre-ordering
excited
it.
about it. Very
Adding it
excited.
to your collection. Heck yeah.
Yeah. I liked all the different creatures and races that they had in this movie. Like from them walking around the quantum verse, and you see little creatures walking around, to that giant amoeba thing that was like chasing them for a while. And then there's like the sun, or no, that's what it was. It's like, oh, is that a sun? No, it's moving towards us. And then that the whole thing was just weird, and the costumes that people were wearing, and the weird cantina that they were in, and the bartender with all the arms and stuff. Like I love all that. That it looked really good, and I know the whole movie, I'm sure, was in front of a green screen, but it they never really had like that shade around their heads that kind of distracted me or took me out of it. Like you try to watch Speed Racer nowadays, oof.
Yeah.
But yeah,
They
I don't
use
know.
the same technology in this that they used to film Mandalorian, which is like it's
What they
a
call that,
big
the dome?
soundstage.
Yeah.
I forget like but yeah, it's like a big soundstage. It's like a full 360, and they can project the background on it. So it's not a green screen. So they're acting against real stuff on the screens. And then the other stuff can just be kind of placed in. So it does give
Wow.
it a more realistic look than obviously standing in front of a green screen. So that's why you don't see
Yeah,
like
they could
a
actually
little bit of
see
that
where
halo
they're at,
look.
and
Yeah, so they can
Yeah.
see stuff coming, and they can see, the monsters coming and stuff, and they can hide behind the rock, and because you
Right.
can interact with this actual setting, which is why the Star Wars stuff has started to use it, because it creates a little bit more realism for the actors.
yeah. That's fun. Let's see. Man, the fight between Kang and Scott at the end, when Kang
So
didn't have any of his powers, it was like short circuiting, and then you just saw like a giant Jonathan Major's arm, and he was fighting. Like I love that. And they could have totally just kind of made it like, they were going back and forth, but Scott was getting worked. Like I don't think he really got any hits on him, and it kind of makes sense with his character and with everything that's been happening. I'm sure Kang has multiple black belts and everything over time. I don't know, like he can
Right.
fight. He's a fighter. If he doesn't have his technology, he knows how to hold his own. And Scott can too, but it just wasn't enough. And I loved that fight between the two of them. That was great. I love even it was a little bit kind of showing Scott and Agent Wu just kind of like
Oh,
cheersing.
Yeah,
Like they
real
had their
quick, man,
little,
tease me.
finally
I
had their
love
lunch.
I love that. That was so
Just a little
good.
card.
You were talking earlier, DX, about Scott kind of at the end, like, wait, did I solve everything? He
Yeah.
said he was preventing something from happening. No, it's
Yeah.
okay. I shouldn't
Did I
think
prevent
about
it?
those
Oh my
kind of
God.
things
Yeah.
unless I
But I
should.
am thinking
And
about
then-
it. Yeah.
that
So
whole
good,
bit,
dude. I
that
love the
was
ending. Yeah.
super, super funny. And you remind me of all the different Paul Rudd jokes. I know there's a lot of funny stuff in this movie. I can't remember them. I know I need to go into the theater with like a pen and paper to like write down specific jokes, but there's a lot of jokes in this movie that were really funny, and even like some not so funny. But even Hank, like, there was somebody in my life once. Her name was Lisa. Just trying to like one up Michelle Pfeiffer with this like kingpin guy that she had been.
I had needs, Hank. I had needs.
Yeah. So yeah. Let's see. again, I talk smack about the ant army. I'm glad that they came back. I just don't like the context and how they did. But I freaking love ants, and I thought it was cool and neat, but just not like that. Like they should have just been there when they landed. Whatever. I can get into all that, but I did like the actual Ant-Man having ants. Like I'm glad that that is a thing, and I knew it was coming the whole time. He's like,
yeah, it's like, what's he talking to in his ear?
Yeah.
Well, they had made that reference at one point too. They were like, "You guys don't have ants down here," and they're like, "What's ants?" You know, like kind of like they made this whole point of like, "There's no ants in the quantum realm." You know,
I'm telling you, if I didn't know
they
what an
did pop
ant
up.
was, and then I saw a giant ant with like robo gear on top of it, I would be terrified.
Yes, yes.
That's some cool looking ants. Yeah. I think I'll hand it over to Frigginz. I mean, like I mentioned her when in my initial thoughts, I'm not ripping on this movie. This wasn't a Captain Marvel movie for me. It wasn't a Eternals where I have so many issues. It was an actual good movie. All the actors, all the special effects. I don't think any special effects were actually bad, and the comedy and the action and the fighting, like it was great. Just the story bits is what really got me. So,
Yeah, Frigginz.
Well, you guys have covered a lot of the similar good moments for me as well. I think the number one thing that I loved the most about this film was Jonathan Majors as King the Conqueror. I was so disappointed in him in Loki when we first saw that version of He Who Remains. So it was really refreshing to see this take. In fact, even I haven't enjoyed any other versions of that character either, except for this version. I thought was so exceptionally well done.
You didn't like I am king.
Oh, I have to talk about him later. So like I like the scars you mentioned earlier, Sean. But even him, he kept doing bzz, 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 bzz with the color thing. Like, just let him be blue.
Yeah, if he's just blue, that would be great.
That would have been cool. But
Smurf up.
either way though, I loved his costume design, and costume design is a really big thing with me. I think that the MCU has gotten a little carried away with over designing the costumes. If you look at something like Thor, I was gonna say Ragnarok, not Ragnarok, Love and Thunder. The best Thor costume there was when he went to the snow. It was super simple, and then like the one he wears throughout almost the entire show is like super overly detailed. So like I think that we've seen a little bit too much of that. So I really enjoyed kind of the way that they made it. This Kang suit looks so close to the original kind of design, but doing so in a way that brings it out and makes it more modern and very, very cool looking. So that was the whole everything about Jonathan Major's performance to Kang's design. And to when he finally comes out and unleashes and just like starts bursting all the his bad guys into little smoke puffs. Another thing I liked in regard to the same concept is that they actually were kind of killing off people. Like that's another thing that we've been seeing a lot. I think with Marvel is like the most one that stands out the most to me is Shang-Chi, where all these ninjas come attacking people with electric swords. I'm sorry, but a ninja would just have a regular sword. They don't need electric swords to stun their bad guys. Like here, we actually saw the villain's villaining with, like he was blasting people into smoke bombs. Even Jintora, which brings me to my second favorite thing, was her staff. And actually all of everything to do with her. She was amazing, but that staff with that like stab you into middle. You mentioned that, Don. That was my second favorite thing in this whole movie. Absolutely love that thing, and I'm like, I need that in like a D&D game. That has to be like my special staff. Number 3 would be Paul Rudd. He's my, he's what makes these movies fun and exciting, and this is why you go to the film to watch an Ant-Man, is you go to watch Paul Rudd. Sadly, I didn't get enough Paul Rudd in here, but at least when he was on the screen, I really enjoyed it, and I really also enjoyed the introduction of this new Cassie. She was really I think, like as we mentioned earlier, I think she did a great job of taking those reins and really making it work, and being able to play off of people like Paul Rudd, and Jonathan Majors, even, or and telling people to stop being dicks. Like, yeah, let's promote that
And
message.
MODOK.
So very cool. It had some really interesting, way out there sci-fi stuff, which I may not have loved, but it was entertaining. It was interesting. It was different. It was cool to see. And like Don mentioned, it was a good time at the theater. You're not getting the knock your socks off like best thing ever, but it was a good time at the theater overall.
I think
There you
kids
go.
will really like this movie. I haven't taken mine to see it yet, but I think it, will. It's not going to blow the adults away, but I think kids will have like a really good time, like seeing all the everything that's
Yeah.
going on in this
Yeah,
movie.
John,
There's
you
a
mentioned
lot.
your daughter saw it twice already, so that's
Yeah,
cool.
she's seen it twice already. She really wants to see it in 3D. That was like the first thing she said. Like when we were watching the credits, waiting for the post-credit scene, and it has like the 3D conversion, and it's listing the people that help with 3D. She was like, "This was in 3D. Why didn't we see this in 3D?
Yeah,
She's all
Dad.
This would
naive.
have been awesome."
Yeah.
And when she went and saw it the second time, they were supposed to go. That was when I was in Texas still. Then she asked to go see it in 3D, but the show times didn't line up. So she was already telling me like, we should go see it in 3D. I'm like, yeah, maybe. Because I would like to see it a second time. I mean, that's what's been kind of hard a little bit tonight. I mean, feels like 2 weeks ago I saw this movie, and trying to remember all the pieces. Usually I've seen the movie twice by the time we do the spoiler review. So it is trying to see like what stuck, right? What stuck and what didn't. But yeah, it is a fun time, I think, especially for the kids, man. There's a lot of visually entertaining stuff. My daughter put it right in the middle of the Ant-Man movies out of the three. She's like second best.
Wow.
So
That's cool.
yeah, so all right. So then, as we were talking about, the movie takes us right here to the mid-credit scene and the post-credit scene, which I know we got some thoughts on. And both kind of tie in together. I mean, just to kind of set it up, the mid-credit scene is all about the Kangs, right? Like we go and we see 3 different variants of Kang, talking about the banished one, as we said, back down, that is he gone now, but yes, he's been banished. I think we've dealt with him, and now we got to, figure out our next steps, blah, blah, blah. And you see the big arena where more and more Kangs just keep coming in. And somebody pointed out that some of the Kangs beam in using that same technology that Reed Richards came in with from,
that
in
little portal on
Doctor
the top.
Strange in the Multiverse of
Okay.
Madness, how he like it is that blue box that he kind of beams in on. That all the Kings were popping up in that same technology. So think about that. But you're seeing all different kinds of variants of Kang, right? And everybody's in the arena like, yeah, already, right? So, is that our dynasty? What are we doing here? Where are we going? And then we wait and we get our post-credit scene, which is basically a clip from Loki season 2. And we see Tom Hiddleston, we see Owen Wilson sitting in a crowd. They're in the 1800s. They're watching like a play, and there's another Kang up on stage. My time there was a blah blah blah. And yeah, and that's it. We now, we know that they know about Kang after season 1, and now I guess they're time traveling, trying to find this version of Kang, which if you go back to He Who Shall Not Be Renamed, as he is talking about the different Kangs and the timelines, he specifically mentions that version they're watching in that post-credit scene, that basically like it originated from this version in the 1800s. Like, so like is he the original Kang? Is this where it all began? So kind of interesting where season 2 is going to take you, which they're saying Jonathan Majors will play a bigger role in season 2. So so both scenes really heavily on Jonathan Majors and Kang. So I'll throw it to you, Peeps, kind of going back in our circle here, just kind of thoughts on both of these, and why did it work or why did it not work for you?
Man, as you're talking about that, like you got my mind bopping all over the place. Like I thought Kang said that he is from the 31st century, and that's when. So I don't understand. But Kang's thing is he kind of exists all throughout time.
Everywhere.
He's gone to the past. How did I feel about the post-credit scene? I did not like it because
Both of them.
Both of them. I did not like it, either one. I couldn't stand the way that old man Feng Shu Chuang Majors sounded. I could not stand his voice like at all. I don't like that all the versions of Kang that have existed in Marvel are just different variants. Like from what I gather, Fred, correct me if I'm wrong, but Kang has existed throughout history. He has existed throughout history, and he has taken up multiple aliases. And then once you find out, oh, this is Kang. Like Kang was also in ancient Egypt. Kang is the Scarlet Centurion, and like I think it's like a cool reveal. But now they're just splitting all of the versions of Kang into just completely different characters. And then when you have just like fanboy Kangs, they're like, what? Like,
well, that scene was my favorite. Directly out of of a comic. There's like literally like almost page to screen transition from that scene in a comic to that scene in the mid-credit scene.
It just makes me think, because when He Who Remains explained what was going on, the Kangs initially were trading technology to better each other's universe, and then it became a war. But now that's not a thing anymore. Like at the end of the Loki, like when when all the timelines are starting to converge again, like did something happen where they just squashed all their beef and now they're working together to just conquer? Like I obviously wait till season 2 to find out, but like I don't know, like it that's how I felt. I when it comes to the post-credit scenes, and you can think back to the phase 1 and 2 and 3, they always are stepping stones to what is coming next. Like it's a Doctor Strange movie and he's having a conversation with Thor about helping him do something. What's going on there? Or it's Bucky, or it's Anthony Mackie saying like, I know a guy, or it's Thanos saying like, I'm going to do this myself, or it's the Guardians, or the them taking the Aether to Vaughn. Like it's a stepping stone getting into the next movie. I think the only one that really hasn't is Guardians 2, which they did the whole Atom teaser,
which will tie into 3 though.
But it wasn't like an overall. It didn't go into the next Marvel movie. It was just for the next, which is what I think they're doing now. It's like the Shang-Chi is just for the next Shang-Chi movie.
Right.
Maybe this Army of Kangs, maybe we're not going to see them until, I don't know, the Kang Dynasty. I don't think we're going to see him in the Marvels. Maybe. I don't know. But I don't know. Like, I just don't know where it's going. And that's, I guess, the only frustration that I have. It's like, what is this? What does any of this mean? And we'll see, I'm sure, in the future. But yeah. And then we got a clip of Loki, like I don't know, like record a scene of like Loki like going to the battle of Quantumverse. Like, oh man, I think we just missed him. It's okay. Well, we'll find another one. I think we heard of a Victor Timely. I don't know. Yeah. And the whole thing with Kang too, is it me, or did it not feel like this whole bit with Kang was like a soft reboot? They assumed everybody hadn't seen the Loki TV show, so they're just kind of reminding everybody about Kang. Like I feel like that what happened in the Loki TV show doesn't have anything to do with this movie at all.
Agree. Yeah, you don't have to have seen that to understand what happened in this movie.
Yeah, and even if you did, it doesn't add anything extra.
Yep.
At all. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, that's
I still think we should have got that Luis recap. That would have been the better.
That would have been the key right there. I think I personally am 100% over the post-credit scenes in general. I feel like they haven't meant anything for some time, and half the time they're just a stupid joke. The mid-credit scene,
Pizza balls was an important scene in Doctor Strange.
Yeah. They are just ridiculous now. And to me, to show us the Council of Kings, or whatever you're going to call them, like who cares? Like you told us they were in existence. And honestly, like your or your imagination oftentimes will create a better scene than that. Like show us that later in a movie or a series or a show or whatever you're gonna show us that whenever that gets introduced. But like, and to me, if you're gonna do an after credit scene, I feel like it's more impactful if it means something. And, I look back as the first after credit scene where Nick Fury is like, I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. Everyone's mind went, what? Because that was telling us the thing. This doesn't really tell us anything. It just shows us that there's multiple Kangs. As for the trailer or the clip of the Loki season 2, this isn't the first time they've done that. There was I don't remember which film it was, but one of them showed the
Black Widow.
No, it was way before that. They showed a clip of Civil War when
Yeah.
Bucky and
That was the
when
Ant-Man,
Captain
because that
America
was the
good.
I
oh, was
know
it?
a guy.
Yeah.
That was
That
the I
was
know a
so
guy.
good.
And it was so good because it gave you that excitement for what's coming next.
Yeah.
So I don't think that showing Loki and Mobius talking about this guy in the crowd, that didn't get me excited for what comes next. So I want to see something that is either a big momentous statement or something that is exciting to show me the next thing, even if it's just a trailer. Like I think about when we saw the trailer of Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, the
At the
first
end of
time we ever saw
Spider-Man?
that was at the end of Spider-Man, and that was cool.
That was
As
really
we
cool.
wasn't expecting that. It was a specialized trailer for that moment. So like, do something like that. Show me a trailer for Loki 2. Don't show me this scene that doesn't really tell you much.
Hey, there's
So
Venom goo in the MCU now. That's going to pay off. Never.
yeah, never.
Never.
So this is what's bothering me. And think about that movie. I mean, that was an MCU movie, but that Venom movie, the best part of that movie was that that
was
transition
really
into.
cool.
I mean, everyone lost their minds when that happened. So it has to be a momentous moment like that to really catch your. And for me, all the after credit scenes that we've seen for a long time have not done that.
I would say too, Frigginz, like you got me going. Like, what if they would have shown those Kangs, but like in a completely dark silhouette? Like you see, like they're standing in that room, but it's just super dark. You maybe see like the glow of their eyes and maybe like a shadow behind them, and you don't really know like who they are or who's talking until the camera pans out and you see all the Kangs, and then it would get like, oh, were those other Kangs talking in that room? I don't know. Like maybe
a little better, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm at this point where like I'm ready to walk out. I want to be one of those guys that's walking out and everyone's like, why are you leaving? It's like, because it's gonna be dumb. So that's where I'm at this
I want
point.
you to do it, and then I'll stay. And I'm like, dude, you missed the dope.
You missed the best fucking
missed
scene ever.
That's why I stay, because the one time I leave, it's gonna be the good one.
It's gotta be good.
I don't know. I mean, like the Doctor Strange one, like we found out that Charlize Theron was there. She was a new character, right? We got the incursion. Like I was cool, man. Like I don't think that they're all. I don't think that they all suck. Like I think that they have gotten away from being as amazing as they were back in the day.
True.
Especially as they led to the next project, right?
Yeah.
Like if you look back on phase 1, it was always what's the next movie, right?
It's
like
a hammer.
The hammer in the ground, right? Like, oh, Nick Fury, we just found this shit in New Mexico.
Yep.
Like you're like, oh my god, it's the hammer.
Yeah.
Like just leading up to things, right? Cap being frozen, like like you said, like I'll do it myself, seeing Thanos grab his gauntlet, right? Like those are things that were just like, yes, we're moving the story along, we're seeing some cool stuff. Lately, yeah, they just feel kind of half-assed, like to an extent. But what I'll say on here for me, I didn't mind the middle one, the mid-credit scene with all the Kangs. It kind of made sense, right? Like I felt like it was going to be something of Kang, whether it was him getting, you see he's alive still in the quantum realm or whatever the case was going to be. I think we were going to still see that there was something with Kang. I do think the post one, I think when they use a scene straight from another project, it feels kind of cheap. It feels half-assed, like to me, that they just didn't know what else to do, and they were like, "Well, Kang's in this thing, so let's put this thing in here.
Let's try to get more viewers on Disney
it'll,
Plus."
Yeah, it'll tie together, and it's like there's nothing else you could have done, right? Like, nothing else we could have teased. just something else in this world. Like, I don't know. Like I said, even a funny thing with the Luis, like it just could have been something else. Like I did feel a little bit robbed that the second scene was just another Kang thing after just already getting the Kang thing in the mid-credit scene. I'm starting to feel a little afraid that phase 5 might be too much Kang, and that's where like they can run, they run a risk, right? Like with Thanos, it was like they teased them at the end of the first Avengers, and then we still had a whole nother phase before we got to it, and
Yep.
he was barely used throughout. And now it's like we've got him in Loki, and we've already had him as a main villain in Ant-Man, and they're already saying he's going to pop up in other projects, and he's going to be in season 2 of Loki. And it's like, dude, I don't want to see him in multiple projects leading up to a Kang Dynasty Avengers movie. It's like you're going to burn him out to where we don't give a fuck, right? So they
Yes.
need to be careful. They need to watch how they play this one out, because I have a feeling, like, I feel like I've already read multiple times where they're like, oh, you're going to see a lot of Kang in this next phase. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, stop. Like, don't
Yep.
overdo it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm a
and
little worried on
and that was the reason why my last episode, like I wanted to specifically talk about villains, because I am also concerned with where we're going with the villains going forward in the phase 5 and further. And I'm glad like they're not just telling us who they're going to be fighting in each movie, like, but
Yeah.
at the same time they kind of are. Like, we know the leader is going to be the big deal in the Captain America movie, but we don't really know what's going on in the Marvels. But I think you said DX, like Kang might have something to do with the Marvels, right?
Who knows?
Um,
I not nothing direct, but yeah, I mean, there's always rumors about Kang right now.
It's in
right.
There's so
everything.
much stuff.
I'm sick
Yep.
of saying that name. Kang.
Yeah.
Kang,
Yeah.
Kang.
All right. Well, quickly on box office, as we always like to talk about. So it was definitely the highest debut of all the Ant-Man movies, with a 3-day debut of $108 million. And it was a holiday weekend, so they always count the 4 days whenever a Monday is a holiday, and that was 120 million when you include the Monday. So big debut, man, for Ant-Man. Like, like this is a movie where the first film made like 55 mil, out the gate, and the second movie made like 75. So seeing it go over 100 million for its third film, pretty damn strong. Like we did talk about, it did take a big dip in week 2. It's still the number 1 movie out there, so it did hold on to that spot, but it did drop 69% from week 1 to week 2.
Nice.
So it only brought in, in the $30 million range
Grow
for
up.
week 2. So whew. So after that, we always go around back to our final thoughts and scores, overall summary, and what do we rank this film on a 1 through 5 star scale. So, Peeps, what was your final thought?
Yeah, final thoughts of this movie. As I've mentioned multiple times, there are a lot of bits and pieces of this movie that frustrated me. I've come to expect more from Marvel. I've come to expect surprises and them taking characters that I didn't even know I wanted and making them larger than life. Where like I cannot wait for another Nebula, or for the next thing that Nebula does in the next Guardians movie. Where before, if you would have said like, "Hey, Nebula's going to be in a movie," I'm like I literally don't care. I
Yeah.
barely care about that character. So yeah, it's such a they're so good at doing that, but I just didn't quite get that from this movie. But as I've also mentioned multiple times, it's not a bad movie. I had fun. I am glad I had seen it as early as I did. I do definitely plan on seeing it again, taking my kids specifically to see it. I personally don't have any desire to, but I want them to experience it, and I want them to, I think they'll have a good time in it. But yeah, I have been seeing things about potential Ant-Man 4. I hope that's true. I want to see him return. I want to see them. I don't want to say redeem, because I don't think that's fair, but I want to see them kind of go back to the core type of Ant-Man movie that we like, that we love. And I want to I would definitely look forward to something like that. Can't wait to see him, Paul Rudd, and all the other Ant family pop up in movies of the future, and the Secret Wars, I'm sure, and hopefully other movies and all the stuff that we don't even know what's coming in phase 6. So, but yeah, at the end, man, like I've been rating this movie has been very difficult for me. Like I'm trying to do, there's that personal side, and then I want to try to have that professional side of me where I rate the movie. But I think I'm going to give this movie, I think I'm going to give it a 3.5. That's going to be my rating out of 5, just in case you guys are curious. So 3.5, almost 4. I want to give it a 4, but it's gonna right now it's gonna be at that half mark that DX loves so much. He loves halves.
He does. They're his favorite.
All right, Frigginz.
I feel like although I had a good time and I came out of the theater having had some good laughs and seen some good action, it ultimately fell a little flat. I always can tell that while I'm watching a film, if I start thinking, what am I gonna rate this? I feel like this is a 3, maybe a 4. Like I'm already in a bad zone. Like, I shouldn't be pulled out of the movie until the very end, and then I'm like, okay, this is what I think it was. So I had a lot of that experience. I think it's the definition of a meh movie. We talked about
I
that.
don't think that's fair.
I really do. Like if you break down like what you got, what this journey was about, what was the point or the theme or the overall aspects, the lessons learned, etc. There's not a whole lot there. We did get some new cool characters. We did have some fun action scenes. We did see some cool graphics, but ultimately nothing really happened. I will say, a little brief aside, Marvel does a really good job about introducing crazy random little itty bitty characters. Like Krylar, Bill Murray's character, was in like a Hulk issue one time. I think he's on one page, and like they found a way to like include something that actually ties to the comics. The same with Jentor, she was actually a character. So again, same things that like they do a good job of doing these things, but I think overall for this film that wasn't enough to save it for me. Now I walked out the theater and I posted on my Instagram my last 4 watch, and I had rated this as a 3.5. But upon further reflection, I had to amend that rating. So that's all reflection. You saw. Yes. The more I sat on it, the more I thought of it, the more I let it seep and soak in. I thought, I felt like 3.5 was probably a little too high. So I dropped it down to 3, and it's
that sounds like it's still a little tentative.
I might say that in a few months from now we might see this drop again, but I'm giving the edge specifically because of Jonathan Majors. He was amazing, and that saved it from a 2.5. So I'm gonna leave it at 3 right now, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Lord, okay. Fuck. Yeah. My half star was too high, so I had to take away the half.
I had to take it away. I knew John was gonna hate me if I left the half there.
So snubby.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So just to reiterate, like I said, like overall, yes, there is nitpicky things we can say about this film. It was not as good as we had hoped it to be. Obviously, with being as anticipated as it was on my list, it did not reach that, unfortunately. There are things I would change. There are things I would fix. Take that away, I still had a fun time at the theater. Still had fun watching these characters. Still had a fun ride. Loved the family dynamic. Loved Jonathan Majors as a villain. And it's all about your villain a lot of times. What do we do with it? And do we have a good antagonist to go up against? And we did. And I think, we had already had a good, strong enough built-in love from the other Ant-Man movies and what we've gotten of him in the Avengers movies as well too, Civil War, that we just have this love built up that really helps maybe kind of lean like a score a certain way. Like I said earlier in the review, was a little bummed walking out of there knowing already in my head this was not a 5-star like I'd want most MCU films to be. I, like I said, wanted them to be, the bangers that we think they're going to be ahead of time. But it did not reach that. But at the end of the day, walking out, I was still really happy with it. Still had a great time. And it's definitely a movie I wouldn't mind sitting through again. So I land at 4 stars. So I'll give it 4 out of 5. I thought it was still pretty awesome. It does rank at the bottom of my Ant-Man movies. So if I had to rank out the 3, it's my least favorite, so that's one way to kind of look at it, is that, how do you rank them against kind of just each other outside of the full MCU? But I'll throw out there, our boy Geeky Pat, who went with me to this movie, absolutely loved this film and said it was his
Wow.
favorite of the whole Ant-Man franchise. So,
Wow.
like I said, movies hit people differently, and it's what you take away from it. He's a big sci-fi guy, loves Star Trek, loves Star Wars, right? And
Mhm.
just loves all that kind of stuff. So it really
Yeah,
resonated
loves
with
his
him, and he
cup
absolutely
of
was
tea.
like, "Dude, best Ant-Man film," coming out of that. So,
That's awesome.
and I think that's what they were looking for, right? So, teach his own. So, all right, and this is our favorite part here as we get done with our scoring to then
Could
go
you imagine in like
to the big
2 years when we're doing this? Like we're just gonna be like talking for like 5
like
minutes, just
50
going through the
50
lines.
movies.
Yeah.
The 55th movie. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's gonna be awesome.
I can't wait. Yeah.
All right, so this is where every time we do an MCU spoiler review, for those of you watching this for the first time, we go through the films of the MCU. So, like I said, this is number 31, and we count down where it landed and then how our overall list has shaped up. Counting down these 31 films in the MCU, where does it land? So, I'm curious to hear Frigginz, because I know you've done some rewatches lately, and I think
I
yours did
have.
a little dance from the last time, and to see where Quantumania kind of falls its spot. I always feel, again, we got to do that caveat that these are all good movies and we all enjoy them to an extent. So, just because one's at the bottom, I had to have this exact talk with my daughter the other day because she was looking at the list as like, well, if it's at the bottom, it means you don't like it. And I'm like, no, it doesn't mean that for this, because
Right.
it's just the way it falls, right? Like
Yeah.
some things are just better than others. So, so we'll break it down, man. So, Frigginz, I'll start with you, man, because like I
Sweet.
said, I think you're gonna have the biggest change up. So let us know how it counts down.
So if I remember right, the last time we did this, I was like, "Oh, I moved some stuff around," and then you guys gave me a crap because I had moved like one thing around. Well, this time I really moved some stuff around. I've been doing
Oh.
some rewatches, so I have shifted a few things. There's a couple I still haven't rewatched yet that still might change by the next time. When you said that this is the lowest of your Ant-Man movies, I had said same, but I remember I was debating on switching some stuff, but I didn't actually switch it. So as of right now, it is not the same. So let me make that quick correction. So my number, Baskin-Robbins 31, at the very bottom there is Iron Man 2. I have on number 30 is Iron Man 3. 29 is Eternals. I dropped that one down a bit because upon further reflection, I realized I don't want to watch that one ever again. Number 28
Not that bad.
is Thor: The Dark World. Number 27 is The Incredible Hulk. Number 26 is Captain Marvel. Number 25 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. So that one was actually at the bottom of my
list has
list.
changed. Oh, man.
Yep, I moved some stuff around, my dude. Number 24, I have Spider-Man Far From Home. And I know a lot of people are giving me that crap for that one, but I just didn't enjoy that one as much. And Quantum
Have you
Mania.
rewatched it?
No, I do need to rewatch that. That is on my
See?
rewatch list. But Quantum
Does
Mania
not
makes
deserve to be that long.
Quantum Mania makes 23 on my list. So that is at the 23 spot as of right now, but that could be shifted.
Wow.
I thought you said it was at the bottom of your Ant-Man, so you're
I
not
know
sticking with that.
I'm telling you, it could shift back though.
Still, Thor is better than Quantumania. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now.
All right, go ahead.
Black Widow is number 22. And Avengers: Age of Ultron bumped up a bit to 21.
A lot of bit.
I
Ooh,
rewatched
to a whole
that.
21.
I rewatched it, and I was like, I actually enjoyed that a lot more than I thought. It might
Yes.
even go higher, honestly.
It should go higher.
Because on my number 20, I have Thor: Love and Thunder. Number 19, I have Doctor Strange, the first one. Number 18, I have Thor, the first one. I'm sorry, peeps. I actually really enjoy that movie. Number 17, I have Wakanda Forever. And number 16, I have Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. After rewatching Thor, Wakanda, or Love and Thunder, Wakanda, and Multiverse of Madness, those had some movements there. But yeah.
Wait, what was 16?
Multiverse of Madness.
What was your 23?
23 is Quantumania.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. I'm on 15 now, which is the first Ant-Man. Number 14 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Mhm.
Number 13 is Spider-Man No Way Home.
Mhm.
Number 12, Black Panther. Number 11, Thor Ragnarok. And this is where it pretty much stays the same. 10, First Avengers. 9, I'm sorry, Captain America, the First Avenger was 10. 9 is Shang-Chi. Number 8 is Avengers, the first movie. 7, Civil War. 6, Iron Man. 5, Spider-Man Homecoming. 4, Infinity War. 3, Endgame. 2, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. And my number 1 remains Guardians of the Galaxy.
All right.
So yeah, I had a
Peeps,
little bit of movement there.
break it down.
Breaking it down. All right. Where are we at? Okay. Tied with Frigginz at 31 is Iron Man 2. Number 30 is Thor, the first movie. 29 is Iron Man 3. 28 is Captain Marvel. 27 is Incredible Hulk. 26 is Eternals. 25 is Thor Dark World. 24 is Captain America, the First Avenger. 23 is Black Widow. 22 is Doctor Strange, the first movie. And 21 is where Quantumania will fall in as Ant-Man 3, the Quantumania. Number 20 is Thor Ragnarok. Number 19 is Thor Love and Thunder. Number 18 is Avengers Civil War. Number 17 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Number 16 is Spider-Man Far From Home. All right, top 15. We are at number 15 will be the first Ant-Man movie.
Oh, which I.
Oh yeah, look at that. Number 14 is, gosh, I wrote Captain America 3. I think that's Civil War, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Did you
Number
already say Civil War though? You
No,
said Civil War earlier.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you already said Civil War. Because I was like, damn, you have that really low when you said it.
Maybe I meant Age of Ultron.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah, because you did not.
Yeah,
say
18 is of Age of Ultron. So
yeah, you said Civil War.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, 14 is Civil
Big difference.
War.
Yeah.
13 is Spider-Man Homecoming. Number 12 is the first Black Panther movie, also tied with Frigginz now. Number 11 is Multiverse of Madness. Now we're at top 10. Bottom of top 10 is Shang-Chi. Number 9 is Iron Man. Number 8 is the first Avengers movie, 2012. Number 7 is Wakanda Forever. Number 6 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Top 5 time. Number 5 would be Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man 3. Yeah. Number 4 would be Endgame. Number 3 would be Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 2 is Captain America Winter Soldier. And number 1 will be and potentially will always be freaking Infinity War.
Forever.
I need to watch it again.
The bad guy wins. Of course, that's your number 1.
Perfect balance, Fred.
All right. You know what's funny is I ranked Quantumania a 4-star, which was higher than both of you, and it's lower on my list than both of you guys' list.
Interesting.
Which is kind of funny to hear how that played out.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
I think my 4s would start at 20. At 20 up, it will start with my 4 stars. And then like my 5s just start going at like geez, like 15, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so number 31, Captain America the First Avenger. Number 30, Iron Man 3. Number 29, The Incredible Hulk. Number 28, Black Widow. Number 27, Eternals. Number 26, Thor the Dark World. 25, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So that's where that one lands at 25. Number 24, Iron Man 2. 23, the first Thor, 22, Captain Marvel, 21, the original Doctor Strange, number 20, the original Ant-Man, number 19, Ant-Man and the Wasp, number 18, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, number 17, Black Panther the original, number 16, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, number 15, Shang-Chi, number 14, Spider-Man Far From Home, number 13, the original Iron Man, number 12, Thor Love and Thunder, number 11, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, number 10, Spider-Man Homecoming, number 9, Captain America the Winter Soldier, number 8, Spider-Man No Way Home, number 7, Thor Ragnarok, number 6, Captain America Civil War, number 5, the original Guardians of the Galaxy, and then we go Avengers style, baby. Number 4, Avengers Age of Ultron, number 3, the original Avengers, number 2, Avengers Endgame, and number 1, like Peeps, Infinity War, greatest movie ever. So that
But
is
Quantumania
the
was like an
updated-
Avengers movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Get the fuck out of here.
I hope they.
Get the fuck out of here.
I
So,
gotta
yeah,
spice it up.
31 films. How we got down. Fred, you got to do some rewatches, man.
I do. I still have a couple more to review. I can see some things still having some big shifts in my future, so we'll see. I'll get to them.
Mm-hmm. Anything you've only watched one time, you need to watch again.
Nah, I definitely don't need to watch Eternals again. I'll tell you that right now. And there's probably a few others.
You've only seen Eternals once?
I can't watch it again.
It's so
like
long.
biologically not possible.
It's so long.
Biologically not bad. It's not that bad.
I was like even considering moving Iron Man 3 in front of it. So I don't know. We'll see. But
all right, guys.
it's
Well, we
fun.
made it. That'll
We
do
did
it for us once again. For the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania spoiler review. And thanks everybody again for tuning in and listening
shy
as
of
we
2
broke down
hours.
this film. Always hitting this damn mark, man. There's
Yeah,
no way
right
around it.
there.
Every single episode,
Every
it's
time.
this time frame without even trying. So we'll go around the horn, let everybody know where they can find you on the social medias and what's going on in your world. Peeps, tell them.
Yo, so yes, I also do this kind of podcast thing called The People's Forum. You can find me on Red Dragons Radio. I'm also on the internet. So I throw things on the Twitter. So if you want to follow me there, number 4 My Peoples, that's 4 right there. You see it. 4 My Peoples on Twitter. If you're watching, I should say. And I love talking about this Marvel stuff. I've recently been trying to get into the DC world. I haven't yet got into the TV shows. It's just so much. There's so much out there. But I love talking nerdy, nerdy movies. And recently, I'm really trying to get into just regular movie reviews. So we'll see how 2023 how that works out. But yeah, that's my thing.
All right. Frigginz.
Well, you can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Frigginz. That's Frigginz. That's Frigginz with a Z. That's mostly where I, dabble. If you want to communicate and tell me how wrong I am or how right I am with my MCU list, and other
can I
lists.
agree with you? Yeah,
you absolutely can. We had a few ties, so I guess if you're into movies and ranking movies, check me out on Letterboxd. I'm on there with the same effort. Boxed. I'm at the same Frigginz there. But yeah, where you can find me right now. Things are a little slow on the, video stuff. So I do though I'm lucky enough to get to pop up on these guys' lovely shows. So you'll find me here on the Am I Still on the Airs on Red Dragons Radio, as well as the occasional People's Forum episode. So look for those show notes to see which ones I'm on. Always fun talking with my bros. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on, Don.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. And as always, you can see mainly everything right here. If you're watching the video version, the bottom ticker has it all. But if you're following on Twitter, follow at Am I on the Air? That is the main show, of course, that we air every single week, bringing you up with all the latest and the greatest in entertainment news in television, movies, and non-spoiler reviews. So make sure you check out the show there for that. And you can follow me directly at DX DONMEGA as well. So new episodes drop, of course, every week, just like the People's Forum. Make sure you follow everybody along. If you like this, you'll like it all. And we appreciate you taking 2 hours of your day and spending it with us, whether you're on the video version or the audio version. We do
Thanks for
appreciate
hanging out, Amanda.
you listening.
Yeah, for
Thanks
sure.
for hanging out and sitting in the chat.
And
Thank you for
Emilio
everybody
jumped
watching
in
live.
too.
Yeah, we actually have a good handful watching live right now. Just everybody's quiet and don't want to talk in the chat, but it's okay. We see you.
It's
We see
okay.
you,
We
and we
see you.
appreciate you. So thanks for watching and thanks for listening. And yeah, man, I guess we'll be back. Probably the next one will be Shazam, I'm guessing. So we'll talk a little Fury of the Gods here in about 3 weeks. So stay tuned for that as we start to get closer and closer to the summertime. So again, thanks everybody for listening. Check out all the socials, follow along, and until next time, y'all. Peace.
Bye.